Alright, hi class, this is Mr. Todd. I just wanted to give you a little bit more help with this idea of graphing the inverse sine function. And so basically to start off, if you look on the bottom of the screen here, you see this sine function. And technically speaking, the sine function should not have an inverse, because when you apply the horizontal line test, you can see the horizontal line crosses twice, therefore there shouldn't be an inverse function. So what mathematicians do is they say, okay, well, in that case, let's only look at the sine function from negative pi on 2 here over to pi on 2 here. Just look at that one little piece. And that one little piece would have an inverse because it does pass the horizontal line test. So that's what we're doing. The goal is to graph the inverse of that piece of the sine function. Okay, so as you know, when you make an inverse, basically you just swap the x and the y. Okay, so let's make a table of values. You can see here we've got x, and the y will be the sine of x. Okay, so here we have the angle, and here we have the ratio. Okay, so no problem. So starting off here at negative pi on 2, there's a big dot right here, and the ordered pair for that dot is negative pi on 2, and you can see right away it's negative 1. So right away we've got our first point, negative pi on 2 and negative 1. Okay, and we're just going to move all the way up the function like this. So another point would be here. I'll just put an approximate dot in there, and that dot would be approximately at the point here of negative pi on 3. Sorry, negative pi on 3 there. So that on the unit, if we look at the unit circle, that's right here. Right here, negative pi on 3. So what's the sine of negative pi on 3? Bingo, here it is. It's negative root 3 over 2. Okay, so negative pi over 3 would have, would have a ratio of negative square root 3 over 2. And we basically just move our way up. Next one, the next special point that we already know about is this guy here, which is negative pi over 4. There should be a negative sign in there. So that is this one. And here's negative pi over 4, and there's the sine value. So we just kind of keep on doing this. Negative pi over 4, negative root 2 over 2. You can see the next one is this guy here. So that is negative pi over 6. That would be around here somewhere. And the y coordinate is negative a half. Okay, good. And then we get to the 0 mark. That's an easy one. 0 is 0. And then everything is sort of like, it's symmetrical. Actually, it's odd. And so then we go to pi over 6 here, and that's 1/2. And we go to pi over 4, which is root 2 over 2. And pi over 3, which is root 3 over 2. And then that brings us all the way to the last point here, which is positive pi over 2. And so again, we see the y coordinate there, which is just 1. Okay, so all we've done is made a table of values for the points that are on the regular old sine graph. So if we want to draw the inverse, well, like I said before, we just switch the x and the y. Okay, so basically take this table of values, take all these x values here, and move them over so they become the y values over on this side. And then do the vice versa as well. So I've already done that for you. I'm going to flip the screen, and you'll see the table of values is already switched over. So right away, please notice that these are now the ratios, and these over here are the angles. So essentially, all we have to do is graph that. But it's a little bit weird because when we go to graph it, we can see the first point here, the x coordinate is negative 1. So that's no problem. Let's put a negative 1, let's say out here somewhere. Negative 1, call that one 1, call this one 1, call this one 2, this one 1, and this one 2. But the problem is here the y coordinate. We see it's negative pi over 2. Okay, so how do we graph that thing? Well, that's actually no problem. We just take our calculator, come on over here, and let's just figure out what is negative pi over 2. Well, it's negative 1.57. So that equals negative 1.57. And so that means we have a point at negative 1, negative 1.57, somewhere around here. Okay, so there it is. So that's our first point. Now, I just want to make sure it's really, really obvious and clear here what we're doing. We're looking at the ratio on the x-axis and the angle, which is in radians, on the y-axis. Okay, so now it's just a bit of grunt work, really. Let's go and take a look at all the rest of these numbers. We've got to kind of convert them to decimals so that we know how to graph them. So negative pi over 3 is negative 1.05. Okay, and this is the part you might want to fast forward. Negative pi over 4 gives us negative 0.79. And last one is negative pi over 6. There it is, negative 0.52. Okay, and the rest is symmetrical here, so this is just going to be 0.52, and then we've got 0.79 and 1.05 and 1.57. Now, the other side is equally problematic, because you can see we've also got negative root 3 on 2, so let's check that one out. Negative root 3 divided by 2. There it is. It's negative 0.87. Negative 0.87. Okay, which means down here we also have 0.87. Okay, I happen to know in my head already this one. It's 0.71 negative on this side, and so over here it's 0.71. This guy is 0.5, of course, negative 0.5. And so we're actually ready to graph. Okay, so let's put the points on. We've already got the first one done. Check. Okay, so next one, negative 0.87 and negative 1.05. Something like that, perhaps. Okay, check. Then negative 0.71, negative 0.79. I don't know, somewhere around here. It's kind of a rough graph. Negative a half and approximately negative a half again. That's right there. So we've got that one, and then to 0, 0. Okay, and then the other side is kind of same idea. Yeah, my graph's not very good, is it? 0, 0, and then we go half and half somewhere about here. And then we go 0.71 and 0.79. Something like that, I guess. And 0.87, 1.05. And then finally 1 and 1.57. And there we go. Make a nice smooth curve. And basically that's what I've asked you to do. Now, it'd be nice if you put the ordered pairs on here so it's really obvious. So for this one, it would be 1 comma pi on 2. Okay, that comes from the unit circle. Over here, what do we have? We have root 3 on 2 with pi on 3, and etc. So we could do that with all these points. Of course, 0, 0 is an easy one, and all the way down the line. So that is how we graph the inverse sine graph. And then your task is now to also do it with cosine and also with the arctangent. So you're going to have to be a little bit careful with those ones to see where do they restrict the graph. So look at the links that I put on Facebook already. Take a look at them. Also in your textbook you'll see examples of this stuff, and you should be able to get the other ones done as well. Okay, so good luck, and yeah, I wish you the best. Come on, ask me for some more help if you need it, and we'll talk. Goodbye.